Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I want to talk about what fearful avoidants particularly find magnetic. Some of these are going to overlap with dismissive avoidance, some of them are going to overlap with anxious preoccupied, and some of them are specific to fearful avoidance. And so, the thing about fearful avoidance is they actually have, from my perspective, what I've seen, calls that I've had with you guys, all the experiences I've had in my career, fearful avoidants have a larger range than anxious, preoccupied, and dismissive avoidant. And what I mean by that is somebody can be very anxious, fearful avoidant, and then someone can be very, very, very dismissive avoidant. And these two people can be very different. They have some overlap, but very different. Whereas typically dismissive avoidance, they have quite a bit more overlap. And so that's why fearful avoidance can be confusing. And it's nothing against any of you guys who are fearful avoidant, because I know a lot of you guys are. I've literally met you, right? I've had calls with you guys. But it is to share the fact that sometimes you're in a relationship with a fearful avoidant and you two are just very different. But we're going to talk about what makes you magnetic to a fearful avoidant. And if you're a fearful avoidant, what are some things that you probably need? Because a lot of times fearful avoidants don't know. The first one is deep conversations. Okay. Many dismissive avoidants do not like deep conversations, but interesting enough, a lot of fearful avoidants do like deep conversations. Deep conversations feel actually more safe than lighter or consistent conversations. Dismissive avoidants like these light conversations. They're limited to like 10 minutes. They can be a check-in every day, every couple hours, as long as they're like very light, just talking about like what you had for lunch or what you're planning to do, or you're going to go to the bank later today. Like dismissive avoidants love that. Fearful avoidants will feel like they need more, typically. And fearful avoidance would rather have a deep conversation every week, just once, over these little conversations every couple hours. But more often than not, fearful avoidance, if they get more and more comfortable with you, they would like deep conversations pretty frequently, as long as it's not too overwhelming. They do enjoy this. Normally, I would say it's every now and again. And this is the part that is interesting, because every fearful avoidant has kind of a different frequency. So some fearful avoidants would actually really love deep conversations like every night. And then some fearful avoidants, they love that deep conversation, but they need like a time off from you and that deep conversation for like a week. And so it really depends. If you're struggling with a fearful avoidant in your life, or maybe you're a fearful avoidant, you can book a call with me and we can kind of process some of the things together to strategize what is best for that relationship. The next one is independence, but usually it has like a security blanket. Like it's okay, independence, but not like so independent as avoidance prefer. Okay, I need to explain this. Okay, it's independence that has like a security blanket. It's often able to be adjusted. So that means that it's independence with a bit more flexibility, which means you're very independent or they're very independent, but like times of like, let's say hardship, that independence is almost completely thrown out the window. And now you guys are together every night for, maybe every single night for a while until they feel better, you feel better, whoever is a person. Whereas dismissive avoidance, they don't really have moments like that ever. Fearful avoidance, it is pretty independent, but they will have moments where they completely open up. They're very vulnerable. They're incredibly emotional, even more so than if you're anxious attached. Like sometimes they just, because fearful avoidants have so much trauma that there is so many things that other attachment styles just cannot really fathom what a fearful avoidant has seen. I'm not sharing anything in specific, but fearful avoidants have seen a lot. A lot of them have. They've been through a lot. And so that a lot of that is because the fearful avoidant believes that independence is safety, but they also believe connection is valuable. And so the connection that they perceive, sometimes they feel like if I tell you everything and you don't hurt me and you can accept it, that means that I am really safe. And that's what I mean by independence, but it's flexible. Because sometimes all of that independence will be dropped and all they will give you is full on vulnerability, because independence for them is not as I'll explain it more like this from this angle. Dismissive avoidants think independence is a valuable aspect of themselves, like they're proud of it. Fearful avoidants, not all of them are proud of being independent. They believe it's they have no choice but to be independent, a lot of them. And so when they feel like they don't have to be, sometimes they won't be independent. They will lean completely in. And at that point, you might think it's very different. You might think, why is he or she suddenly showing up so heavily? And then after they show up very heavily, they pull back. And you think, Did I do something wrong? Not necessarily. This is their process. Them pulling back is just going back to their safety net of independence. But they're going to go back and do that again. But if they pull back, it doesn't mean that the relationship is failing at all, actually. Fearful avoidance, they don't know the balance between their independent side and their vulnerable side yet because of the trauma they've experienced. They've had a lot of abuse, a lot of them, for being vulnerable. Vulnerability was terrifying. And so their reaction might be incredibly severe compared to the other attachment styles. And so I'm not saying it's right or wrong, because a lot of you guys can be very hurt when a fearful avoidant does this. But I also want you guys to have recognition that it's not anything to do with you. You can be there for them, you can call them out, but also understand that the amount of trauma that a lot of these folks experience, if you are not a fearful avoidant, then this is for you. If you are a fearful avoidant, you completely get it, right? The amount of trauma you've experienced has been such an uphill battle pretty much your entire life. A lot of fearful avoidants have gone pretty much no day in their life without some sort of like turmoil. And that is why they behave this way. They're very used to turmoil. Their inner self is turmoil. So when they're acting like that, they do think that's normal. The next one is actually fearful avoidants do like passion. This is incredibly different from dismissive avoidance, right? Even though they're both avoidant, this is something that dismissive avoidants barely ever overlap. They love that sense of passion and spontaneity every now and again, right? Dismissive avoidants like that small connection pretty much like every day, right? You guys are sitting and watching TV. To them, dismissive avoidants think this is perfect. This is marriage. This is love. Every day, if you just do that and you eat dinner together, that works for a dismissive avoidant. Fearful avoidants, no, they need every now and again some sort of passion. Maybe you do something randomly, like you just change your whole schedule that one weekend to go out and do something. Fearful avoidants really love that. In fact, those moments, without them, they almost feel like the marriage and relationship is not real. They might not be able to face it fully. And so if you are with a fearful avoidant, every now and again, attempt doing this. It might help them. And if you are a fearful avoidant, try asking for this in your relationship. You might feel more safer in your relationship if you have this, especially if your partner is a dismissive avoidant. They don't know that you want this because they don't operate like that. So ask so that you can feel heard and seen. The next one is that fearful avoidance, this also fits with dismissive avoidance, by the way. They don't want a partner that takes things too seriously. Fearful avoidants have moments where they say things they don't mean. Not as much as dismissive avoidance, but they might also react in ways they didn't mean. This is way more common with fearful avoidance. If there's something that triggered them that maybe came from their childhood, or something that bothered them, or something they saw on TV, anything. Maybe they have a difficult relationship with, let's say, their mother, and their mother said something critical on the phone, and that whole day they're in a really bad mood. This is a trauma response. And while it can be very overwhelming for you, it's possible that this mother did something to your partner that maybe they're not ready to share, or something was very painful in their childhood. And so we can't completely dismiss their behaviors because it comes from a lot of trauma. And that sometimes means you can't always take everything so personally. If you want to be in a relationship with a fearful avoidant, they will need to heal, but it takes a long time. And the next one is space. A lot of fearful avoidants do actually enjoy space, especially after a very high charge moment. They don't need space as frequently or as embedded in the relationship as a dismissive avoidant does, but they especially need it after a high charge moment. So let's summarize and we'll wrap it up. Deep conversations, independence with flexibility, passion, not taking things too personally, and space. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.